Hey family, welcome back to the Imani Invests community. I want to start today with a reality check that might feel like a bucket of cold water, but we need to have this conversation because your legacy depends on it. Right now, the average 45-year-old in America has about $115,000 saved for retirement. But here's the problem. That same 45-year-old is going to need somewhere between $1.3 and $1.8 million to retire at 65 without watching their lifestyle collapse. We aren't looking at a small gap here, family. We are looking at a canyon with a deep river at the bottom. And here is the part the big financial firms don't want to say out loud. There are two hidden windows, one in the tax code and one in the compound interest curve. That close permanently before most people even realize they were open. If you miss both, the math stops being about growth and starts being about triage. Most people will tell you it's never too late, which is technically true the same way you can technically still catch a flight after they've closed the gate. It's going to cost you a whole lot more, and the journey is going to be much more painful. I'm not here to give you vibes or generic motivation today. I am Imani, and I want to show you the mechanical reasons why 45 is your pivot year. We were going to look at the compounding cliff, the Roth Conversion Window, and a Social Security calculation that almost everyone gets backwards. By the time we're done, you'll have a real framework for what to do with the 20-year window you have left. And if you're worried about where you stand, I've put a link in the description to my free early retirement calculator. It uses the same logic as the big banks to show you where your plan is weak, and I promise it's much more honest than the ones you find on Google. I want you to think about what NASA calls launch windows. Back in 1972, when they launched Pioneer 10 to head toward Jupiter, they didn't just pick a Tuesday because it was convenient. They had to wait for a specific alignment of the Earth, the Sunday, and Jupiter. This alignment allowed the spacecraft to use Jupiter's gravity, like a slingshot, saving massive amounts of fuel. If they had missed that window by just a few weeks, the mission would have failed or cost twice as much. Your financial life works the same way. The period between age 45 and 62 is your launch window. It's the last time your earning power, the tax code, and the clock all align to give you a slingshot effect. After this window closes, you're providing all the fuel yourself, and the cost per mile goes up steeply. Let's talk about the compounding cliff. You might think your problem is just that you haven't saved enough yet, but it's actually structural. Imagine two people, Marcus and David. Marcus starts putting $2,000 a month into a simple index fund at age 35. David does the exact same thing, same fund, same amount, but he starts at 45. They both retire at 65. Marcus ends up with $2.4 million. David, he ends up with just $1.04 million. That 10-year difference cost David $1.3 million in freedom. Marcus didn't work harder, he just let his money have babies. And then those babies had babies. David arrived in the fourth quarter and is trying to play the same game, but the scoreboard is already fixed against him. This is the inflection point where the graph of your wealth starts to bend sharply. And if you are just starting to get serious at 45, you're on the wrong side of that bend. Now, look at the reality for our community. The median retirement savings for someone in their late 40s is only $115,000. If that money grows at 7%, it doubles every 10 years. So, by 65, that $100,000 becomes $400,000 without you doing anything. But remember, you need over $1 million. To bridge that gap, you need to save another $2,700 every single month for the next 20 years. That is the late start tax. The fuel is more expensive now. And when we feel that pressure, we often fall into the catch-up fallacy. We think, I am behind, so I need to take bigger risks to get higher returns. Sisters, that is how you turn a difficult situation into a disaster. Loading up on speculative stocks or crypto at 40. 7 isn't being bold, it's panicking. And when you panic in the market, you almost always lose. I've seen people get talked into high commission products like whole life insurance as a catch-up tool. That's like putting a seatbelt on a bicycle because you're scared of car crashes. It costs you a fortune and does almost nothing for your actual goal. Let me let you in on a secret your advisor probably hasn't mentioned. The Roth Conversion Window. If you've been putting money into a traditional 401k or IRA for 20 years, you've been getting a tax break today. But you've also invited the government to be a silent co-owner of your future. Every dollar you take out later is taxed as ordinary income. By the time you hit 73, the IRS forces you to take required minimum distributions, RMDs, whether you need the money or not. This can push you into a much higher tax bracket and make up to 85% of your Social Security taxable. This is the Social Security Torpedo, and it sinks millions of retirees. The window between 45 and 62 is your chance to take back control. You can systematically move money from your traditional accounts to a Roth account now. While you can control the tax rate, you pay the tax today on your terms, and then that money grows and comes out completely tax-free forever. A $400,000 Roth account is worth way more than a $500,000 traditional account because the government can touch it. But this window starts to close at 62. Because once Social Security kicks in, conversions become much more expensive. I want you to think about my friend Ray. Ray is 52, making $110,000 a year, and he's been disciplined with his 401k. He has $340,000 saved. His advisor tells him he is on track. But Ray has never heard of a Roth conversion. He is heading straight for that tax torpedo at 73. But there's another danger Ray is facing: sequence of returns risk. This is the invisible monster that kills even the best plans. Imagine two people retire with $1 million. Investor A hits a bad market in the first 2 years, down 15%, then down 8%. Investor B hits a great market first, and the bad years come 20 years later. Even if their average return over 30 years is the same, Investor A runs out of money by year 17, while Investor B dies with a surplus. Why? Because when you take money out of a shrinking account, you are killing your money soldiers. Right when they are most vulnerable, they never get a chance to recover. For a late starter, this is catastrophic. The instinct to stay heavy in stocks to catch up actually creates a time bomb that detonates right when you stop working. A properly structured plan for a 45-year-old includes a glide path. You don't just stay 80% in stocks until the day you retire. By 55, you need to start increasing your safe bucket, things like short-term treasuries or high-quality bonds. And by 62, you need a cash buffer, 1 to 2 years of living expenses sitting in a boring money market account. This buffer is your shield. If the market drops 20% the year you retire, you don't sell your stocks. You live off the buffer and give your portfolio time to heal. This one decision can add 5 to 7 years of life to your retirement fund. And let's talk about that standard advice to wait until 70 to claim Social Security. Everyone tells you that waiting gives you an 8% raise every year. On paper, that is true. But look at the actuarial tables. For a man reaching 62, there's a 46% chance he won live long enough to even break even on that decision. If you redrawing down your tax-free Roth account just to wait for a bigger Social Security check, you might actually be losing wealth in the long run. Social Security timing is a complicated math problem, not a one-size-fits-all rule. You have to look at your health, your spouse, and your tax buckets. Let's go back to Ray. He needs about $2 million to retire comfortably at 67. He has $340,000 now. To get there, he needs to save about $3,600 a month. Now, Ray's take home pay is only about $6,000 a month, so saving 60% of his check sounds impossible. But this is where the Imani framework comes in. Because Ray is over 50, he can use catch-up contributions. He can put $30,000 into his 401k, $8,000 into his Roth IRA, and over $5,000 into his HSA. Because most of this is pre-tax, it lowers his tax bill by almost $7,000 a year. His actual out-of-pocket cost is much lower than it looks. He can also use the HSA receipt strategy. Ray can pay for his medical bills now out of his pocket, save the receipts, let the HSA money grow tax-free for 15 years, and then reimburse himself tax-free in retirement. It's a legitimate IRS-approved strategy that almost nobody uses. Ray also starts converting $22,000 a year into his Roth starting at age 55. By the time he retires, he has a huge tax-free bucket that allows him to keep his taxable income low. Because his income is low, his Social Security isn't taxed as heavily, and he qualifies for larger healthcare subsidies. Ray isn't a hero. He just understood the mechanics. He made a few mistakes. He panicked once during a crash and missed a few months of contributions. But he still ended up with $1.6 million in total peace of mind. He picked his fruit when it was ripe instead of letting it rot on the tree. If you are in this 45 to 62 window right now, I want you to do 3 things. First, run the Roth conversion math this week. See how much you can move without hitting the next tax bracket. Second, start building your sequence buffer 5 years before you plan to quit. This is not your emergency fund. It's your retirement protection fund. Third, stack those catch-up contributions aggressively. Every dollar you add now is worth so much more than a dollar added later because of that 20-year runway. The launch window for Pioneer 10 didn't stay open because the engineers felt ready. It closed because the planets moved. Your 40s are a geometry problem. Family, the alignment of your income, Your tax breaks, and your time is exactly where it needs to be right now, but it won't stay there. The people who fail this window aren't failing because they aren't smart. They are failing because the map they were given was incomplete. You have the full map now. The information is public, and the window is still open. Stop standing on the launch pad and let's get this mission started. This is Imani reminding you that wealth is built step by step, and your healthiest years are your most valuable asset. If this spoke to you today, hit that like button, subscribe to our family, and share this with a sister who needs to hear the truth about 45. We rebuilding our legacies together. I'll see you in the next one.